Hey, Junior Power Kids, it's Miss Dana. Welcome to the clubhouse. I am so glad to have you here today to hear a story from my very favorite book called the Bible. That's right, and yell it loud if you know whose book it is. That's right, it's God's book. And how many books are in the Bible? 66. You guys are so smart. Remember, this is the book that God gave to us so that we could know him. And so today's story is from the New Testament. We know that because Jesus is in it. So it starts with Jesus and his disciples, and there was a crowd of people that were coming to hear Jesus teach. Because remember, when Jesus was on earth, he kind of went from town to town to town, teaching people all about God. And his special friends that we call the disciples went with him. So they were together and they saw a big crowd coming to hear Jesus teach. And Jesus was like, where are we going to get bread to feed all these people? And his disciples were like, what? If we got bread to feed all these people, that would be a lot of bread. You see, there were over 5,000 people that were there to hear Jesus teach. So 5,000 is a really, really, really big number. In fact, it's kind of hard for us to picture how many 5,000 is. So 5,000 is if you've ever gone to like a big basketball game or a football game, and there's thousands and thousands and thousands of people there, like maybe even at the Cavs game or something like that. So there were a lot of people, and the disciples were like, that would be a lot of bread, and how would we pay for that? And then one of the disciples found a little boy who had brought a lunch with him. So this is what the little boy had. Count with me, all right? This is how many loaves of bread he had. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 loaves of bread and 2, count it with me, 1, 2 little fish. And so this was the lunch that he had. And how many people do you think the little loaves of bread and 2 fish could feed? Yell it out if you know. You're probably just a few people. Like, that's not even enough for all of you in this room, right? Well, Jesus took the bread and he gave thanks to God, and he told the disciples to pass out the food and that everybody could have as much as they wanted. So they did, and everyone ate and ate and ate, and the food didn't run out. In fact, afterwards, Jesus told his friends, the disciples, to go around and collect anything that was left over. And when the disciples did that, there were still 12 baskets of food that was left over. Can everybody say, oh my goodness? That's right. You see, sometimes when we read this story, we think, okay, well, maybe everybody just had like a crumb of food, but that's not right. The Bible tells us that everybody had all they needed to eat, but the food just kept coming. You see, Jesus had done a miracle. He did something that only Jesus or God can do. That is what we call a miracle. He took a little bit of food and he turned it into a lot of food till everybody had full bellies and some was left over. Now, guys, what is our lesson today? Today, remember, I told you we were talking about how Jesus was helpful to the people around him. So Jesus helped the people have full bellies by doing a miracle, right? So we are all month long learning how we can love like Jesus. So we can love like Jesus when we're helpful. Now, that doesn't mean that we can do miracles, right? We can't take a little bit of food and turn it into a lot. Only Jesus can do that. But what are some ways that you can be helpful? Can you guys think for a minute? Can you yell them out? That's good. Okay, what about when it's time to clean up your toys? Can you be helpful by just doing it without complaining? That is super helpful. What about when your family has gone grocery shopping? Do you think that you could help carry the groceries in? Clap your hands if you think you can do that. What about when it's time to clean up after dinner? Do you think you can help with that? Pat your head if you think you can do that. There are so many ways to be helpful. By looking and paying attention to the people around you and what they might need, that's how you can be helpful. By seeing what people need and giving it to them. So sometimes that's helping with a chore, and sometimes that's just being a really good listener. So guys, we love like Jesus when we're helpful. See you next week.